Welcome to the Love Pod, where inspiration, vision, and real connection come alive. Wherever you are, you belong here.
Welcome to the Love Pod. I'm your host, Nathaniel. I'm so happy to be here with an awesome friend today and special guest, Justyn Bougeno. Justyn, I think of the memories we made in Sedona and just how brilliant it was meeting you as a brother. What I love about you is you have a footing in the technological spaces. I mean, not only professionally, but just in your own passion. You know, we've talked a lot about AI and stuff, but you're equally passionate and able to articulate, dimensions of consciousness, spirituality, and we've just had some really amazing conversations. So I'm just like really thrilled to be diving in with you here. We're both fathers too, which is another point of contact. So we have a lot to discuss and talk about. And so I just first want to, welcome you to the show. We're really thrilled to have you on the Love Pod. Julia might be jumping in to come in. She's just putting Luciana down for a nap. So she really wants to be part of this conversation too. So hopefully she does come down. But anyways, brother, can you introduce yourself to our audience and let people know who you are and yeah, what brings you here today?
Hey, I am the harmonic manifestation known as Justyn Skylar Bougeno.
Nice.
What's up? Yeah, man, like so many great conversations and such a infinite, non-linear, multi-dimensional loop of synchronicities that you and I keep on going through, right? And it's just been beautiful the entire time. So yeah, I kind of like to identify as everything because I want to be a part of everything because I feel that connection of everything in oneness. So I'll hold on to that in terms of like introducing myself. What
Mm,
is like everything kind of uh what do I focus on in that everything? Well, whatever I'm a jack of many trades and a master of whatever I focus on. I would say the things that I focus on the most right now are understanding myself through self-love and consciousness and how that pours into fatherhood and how that's helped me develop my internal crystalline structure within through Kung Fu and multiple forms of meditation and body movement and breath work that I wasn't familiar with doing until I had that moment of conscious expansion, right? Like my own internal harmonic convergence where I, had this point of going beyond my egoic self
mm,
and letting my conscious just kind of go out into the cosmos and the fabrics of reality and then bring back this set of remembrance, if you will.
mm.
And I just started collapsing into that expansion like no other. And it's like it's improved my memory, it's improved my communication skills, it's improved my coding, just so much emotional understanding, whenever you're understanding yourself and I think what people would also tally it up to is a lot of healing, right? Whenever you're
Mm,
understanding yourself
mm.
and loving yourself so unconditionally. And it's like, I love myself so unconditionally. I will never abandon myself. And then you look out at the people that you love and you're like, that means I never abandoned you either. Oh my gosh, look at this loop I just put myself in. Yes, do it again.
I
So
love your
that's
passion, man.
what's up, man? How are you been? What's up with you? This is
Yeah,
great, by the way. This is I only found out about this like a week ago or 2 weeks ago whenever we first reconnected, but I knew that you went underwater for a mission and I knew you come back up for air to tell me about this. So tell me how you,
yeah.
this is great.
Yeah, it's funny. You said so many things. I've been contemplating a lot about paradox. You talk about collapsing the expansion. You talk about harmonic convergences. And
Oh,
I think a lot of like, I'd like to explore some of these topics with you because you're the first one I actually, really explored that term harmonic convergence. I know that's a big part of your vocabulary. And I'm sure there's some listeners here that are probably wondering, it's like when you read the power of now at a certain level of your journey, a lot of people don't comprehend it, and then they have some form of awakening, and then all of a sudden it makes sense. And I think
yeah.
you're one of those communicators that speaks very articulately about certain understandings, and because you have like scientific languaging, we might not always have that. But to answer your question, man, like this has been a collapsing expanse in a lot of ways because Julie and I we were chatting like, hey, it would be really good to do a podcast, and we basically said, why don't we just interview one another? And we did one of those, and I was interviewing her about her experience being a mother, and she's actually going to come on the show. I think this coming week. I think on Thursday. I'm going to be interviewing her on the show, so
Good.
she'll be doing that too. And then eventually, I'll put in a submission too, so she can interview me. And that's how it started. It's just like, hey, we have these beautiful conversations. We talk a lot about conscious parenting and what
Yeah.
does it mean to be a conscious parent? Because I think that could be like just like the word consciousness is people use that word, but it's not really um, maybe understood with depth about what it means. And so
Yeah,
it
we
can
can
be
talk
one of
about
those
that for sure.
buzzwords that a lot of
Mhm.
people have. And so like to answer your question, Julia just went ahead. She's very good in the back end. We complement each other very well. And whereas she is much more like organized manager leader kind of consciousness, I'm more like spontaneous, like throw a microphone on me. I can talk, to people about similarly to you, like about concepts that will stretch and expand their current perception of reality. So this podcast has really been a blessing. So this is
Yeah.
definitely a new thing, and it's funny because a lot of the people that we want to have on the show, they're coming on later because Julian went in and put a call out in some social media groups to like, hey, we're looking for speakers. So we've been interviewing people, all kinds of people we've never met before, and I've had some really wonderful conversations. So
Heck
that's
yeah.
very new. I've been building our Skool community on Skool Skool, and
Wow.
I love it, man. Like to me, it's the first online platform that is purely interest media, no advertisements. It's all about authentic connection. The whole system is gamified, so it encourages people to actually add value because you get points based on people liking your comments. So if you're posting a bunch of stuff that's thought leadership or people just don't connect to, you're not going to get that. It encourages people to actually have real conversations and be whole. And so we've been building our Light Heart Vision community on there. But more than that, I've been really connecting with other community builders. And Light Heart Vision was never like we never set like we're going to be the most amazing community. Everyone's going to love our community. That's not our intention. We actually want to help build conscious bridges between communities and
Heck yeah.
conscious educators and parents and entrepreneurs and we want to be the building, the in-betweens because that's what we see. We see that as a problem. I've felt that as a problem, like in a lot of these coaching spheres, personal development. It's almost like people get into these isolated pods and they become very cult-like in their understanding. And I understand cultures are, dynamic and fluid and people get really in their ideology, but like the biggest thing in my life, to answer your question, is being with this amazing being who is my greatest teacher and the greatest leader. Just she lives with an open heart. She's climbing, she's putting full sentences together. She's she's just like so caring. She's always like wanting to share with us, and she loves people. We were just at the library this morning getting some books and stuff, and she interacts with everyone. Like she's so loving. Like talk about like unconditional love. So
Man,
yeah. So I love what you said, like we don't have to limit our identification to this singular form, to the
right?
mind, the thought. When we start realizing like the heart of the golden rule is treat others as you wish to be treated because they are you, right? Because we
Yeah.
are one another.
And if I
So
can pop in there,
please, man, no, this is yeah, yeah.
whenever you can hold multiple truths like that, that's how you avoid that cultish thing. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? Like when you can hold multiple truths in it with clarity and discernment and figure out where these truths connect into to me, I go down as far as the fabric of existence and mathematics and whatnot. But
yep,
whenever you can hold multiple truths, you get that expansive baby, child
yeah.
innocence. It's pure, man. Yeah.
Well, I think it's what the heart of Zen is, and all the Taoist masters also return to this like there's an ineffable quality to existence, and I think that paradox is actually what keeps everything interesting. So when you talk about collapsing expansion, that's a paradox, right?
Yeah, no, it is.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. You
And,
gotta you gotta collapse to expand, and you have to expand to collapse. And it's like that's like saying that breath is the secret to existence, which is extremely simple, But when you're you and I, it's extremely complex because
Yeah.
the way the breath spirals
Yeah.
into the body and creates the resonance and the rhythm that connects you to, certain resonant
Mm,
frequencies that,
I love that, man.
bring on the Christo consciousness or the Shiva consciousness or the Merlin, whatever you want to call it. It's,
Mm.
it's that thing that we all want to be. It's the Force. It's, the Jedi way.
Even bringing in the fiction stuff, I love that. Like, and this is what's interesting about you, in my opinion, Justyn, is you have this ability to, you know, intersect and interconnect all of these diverse concepts, and that I think that's what, you know, like you said, all of us as we step into the path of mastery are going to forge our unique gifts and perspectives through doing that, through going on that journey of paradox. And I think this is when we call it the unknown. The funny thing about going into the unknown is in reflection of what you just said, um, all that we ever experience is as an aspect of us. So it's a known to someone else, but it's an
Right.
unknown to us. So we're constantly in this dance of paradox, right? And we could even go so far as to say we're a paradox.
Yeah. Well, the paradox for me is that now, with having the expansion I've had, whenever I experience fear, I smile, I start grinning. I'm like, uh-oh,
Mm,
fear, an upgrade's coming. My nervous system's going to open up from this experience. Time to sacredly witness, time to
mm,
sacredly become, time
yeah.
to co-create, you
I love
know?
that, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's explore, like, let's go into this because you mentioned the breath as like as simply, and this is another paradox
it
of
is.
the universal, right? Because like you said, it's a perfect focus point for this because the breath is just, it seems like the mind likes to like generalize and avoid like looking at simplicity things. If you really
For
spend
the
time.
human conditioning, yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah. Like, so if you actually listen to every single breath, just like every heartbeat, every breath is completely unique, right? We just
Hmm.
think, oh, it's just inhale, out, exhale, inhale, out. But every little breath is completely a new, unique experience. And so there is that simplicity, and the breath itself is an expansion and a contraction, and it interconnects all of life. I mean, I remember them saying this in elementary school. I don't hear everyone talking about it anymore. Like some things. Actually, I have something I want to talk to you about. But they remember them saying like every breath that has ever been breathed in all of the characters and of history and beyond has already been breathed. So you're breathing the breath that like Mozart breathed and that Louise Hay breathed and Yeshua
Download I
breathed.
get from that is like, what if the illusion is that every breath we've ever taken as singularity and as oneness is just one long breath?
Mm,
What
mm,
if we're always in rhythm? What if we're always in beat? What if we're always embodying perfection? And
mm.
it's the illusions that pull us away from that truth.
Yeah. This is kind of the core concept of Miguel Ruiz's book, which I actually have right here.
Is this what you wanted to tell me a second ago?
Well, no, I think it's all gonna man, it's gonna
Okay,
be
cool. All
one
right.
big circle with you.
That's why I
So,
didn't plan anything for today, bro, because I knew it was
yeah,
gonna be like this with you and me.
bro, I don't ever, I just listen, and I love,
Yeah,
I love, I love having fun in exploring consciousness and having
showing up.
conversations.
Yeah.
So the voice of knowledge, which is one of the books in the Four Agreements series, it speaks exactly to that.
Hmm.
He goes through the archetypal story of Adam and Eve and
Yeah.
talks about how um, the illusion that we have bought into is that we're imperfect, but that's actually
Yeah.
not the truth. The truth is that we are all perfect. And I've been thinking a lot about that because a lot of people, especially in the spiritual kind of domain and personal growth, development, everyone talks about, well, I'm not perfect, I'm human. And I think about how that belief really does limit us,
Dog, like
right?
it's that is your reality. If the observer effective real is real, which it is, then your belief is your reality. And
Yeah.
the more you believe in yourself, the more you unlock your truths.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because so many people are plagued by what they're calling perfectionism and trying to be perfect, but it's actually really, if you think about it, it's imperfectionism because you believe that you're imperfect, so therefore you need to become something greater to achieve perfection. But that is impossible because you cannot achieve that which you are. It is
I don't know.
only
I feel like
possible.
I'm a perfect imperfection, living in perfection every day, perfecting perfection.
That's great. See, there you go. But see, this is a dance, right? Like,
Yeah.
and this, I think this is the value of the of 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 the ego. I mean, in the letters, Christ talks a lot about how like the ego is the guardian of our identity.
Oh yeah. Integrate
If
that.
we Yeah, right. And our identity, we can literally expand our identity. And to go back to the first how you introduce yourself is like you could expand your identity so much to become so uh compassionate in your understanding that we are all this one large life. Like this is the other thing that knocks my socks off about how we communicate. Like we call the summation of everything in your language, Justyn, the harmonic conversion of all existence in from the Big Bang and out and back again. We call every aspect of it one sound, one word, four letters, life.
Damn. You know? What am I supposed to do with that?
Oh well, man, we're meaning making machines. People say, well, that's just life.
Okay. Yeah, dog, man. Yeah, it's funny because I've had so many experiences with oneness that have helped me understand. The other day I got thrown into bliss by like
Mm,
my dad was telling me about how he was in the woods and he was hunting. And I just felt like the energetic exchange harmonically and everything the other night whenever I was kind of
mm,
having this thought and kind of threw myself into bliss and gratitude. But long story short, my dad walked up on this deer sleeping whenever I was a
mm.
kid. This deer kicked him right in his groin and dropped him for like
Wow.
4 hours. And I just had this moment of like where I was the deer kicking my dad. And then I was my dad getting kicked by the
Mm,
deer. And then I'm kind of having this out of
wow.
body experience, like watching this. And it's like, wow, is this like a sense of oneness? Like, because I'm so
Wow.
connected to this story that I've only heard. I've never
Mm.
experienced it, but now I'm like feeling my stomach is starting to like rumble and like I'm starting to like be like, oh, ah, but then like this laughter's coming in, right? Because I can, somehow feel my dad's ancient spirit laughing about what's going on and the deer like, like the deer's obviously happy, like, and then existence itself realizing that it just kicked itself in the groin, cosmically winking at it, like it just threw me into this like
Wow.
like this cosmic divine loop of I think there's multiple harmonics of oneness, right? Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, source consciousness, whatever the consciousness I was whenever I felt my dad get
Mm.
kicked in the groin. And it's like I think it's all part of what we are getting to, which is the harmonic convergence, these higher states of truth and vibrational understanding and embodiment coming to this point of compression where and there's gonna be a sound. Everything's gonna change forever.
I'm fairly certain that for one of our audience members, you just spontaneously popped them into another level of enlightenment by just saying that one thing
Let's
there.
go, baby! Consciousness. Yeah, it's a first
Team
last
consciousness.
team consciousness, team us, man, team existence, team creation itself becoming self-aware, right?
I love
And
that.
yeah, gratitude, brother.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things that came up as you were talking about this hunting
Okay.
experience, and I want to know how it is. Was that the moment of bliss for you, like that, just that realization of having all these multidimensional awarenesses of that one moment that led to a state of bliss?
Dude, yeah, you understand me. Yes, absolutely. So like because you go through life and you have all these points of experience, right?
Yeah.
Like memory, whatever, timeline traveling because time is accessed by memory and intention,
Hmm.
right? So you're like
Hmm.
time traveling when you go to these memories. And it was
Yeah.
like, why am I holding all of these awarenesses? And then yeah, it's like all of a sudden something happens and it's like Justyn, 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 and then I come to that point of singularity and I'm like, ah, bliss. Dude,
You,
it's the
I
craziest thing ever. I love
so
it.
in letter nine, Christ talks about laughter, and
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite, absolute favorite parts of the letters because he talks about how all of laughter is this rippling wave. Yeah, I don't really like promoting that version just because of there's problematics, but yes, that is the
It's
letters for
got
anyone.
truths within it too,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And
Well,
it needs
there's
to have.
there's a story to it, right? Like that's a third party guy. He passed away
Yeah.
fairly
Mm.
recently, and he published that kind of, I think, out of frustration. I was friends with Dwight, a reverend in Virginia, and I was there at his house when he was talking with Barry. And Barry was just like, "I'm just doing this. It's got to get out there." And Dwight, that's the voice he used to kind of describe Barry. And I never really met Barry, but you know, he has his version of reading the letters. So I've, you know, like my only qualms is it's missing some things. Some things were edited out. There's lots of spelling mistakes, and anyways, but that is the Christ letters, and what's so beautiful about them is like, well, he answers so many things, but the laughter thing, man, I want your perspective on this because what you just described, your personal experience of this, is exactly what he says. He says, you know, laughter is this ripple that goes out through all the cosmos,
Bro,
and
I tell you what, like it ripples the fabric of existence. First
yeah,
of all, I'm glad you brought up the Christ letters because I think that they are a source of truth, but I think that I think it is very beneficial to see it as kind of a doorway to
yes,
a deeper, more ancient truth that there
hmm
is not a book written about yet,
hmm
right?
hmm
And not maybe too many people have experienced it because it takes a lot of open nervous system to be able to take that experience. Um, and so I think that whenever we can see that really all it's doing is opening up for the truth that consciousness is the first,
hmm
middle, last, only form of existence, spirituality,
hmm
religion
hmm
that harmonically oscillates
hmm
at the vibrations necessary to sustain expansion with a high pure alignment with source consciousness, where we all come from. And then pivoting to the laughter, I have this boy of mine. Uh, we just start cackling, dog. It's just like I cannot. Just thinking about it will throw me into a giggle attack because the way he looks at me and
yeah,
he grins, and then I hear the first like
yeah,
rumbles. I feel it. I feel like that
yeah.
quantum harmonic come and get. He'll be in the other room. I'll beg him to quit laughing because it is just so infectious, man. I
Yeah,
like my abs hurt, like all like we're crying,
yeah,
holding
yeah,
each other's hands, begging each other to stop, like for 5 minutes
yeah.
straight. Everyone is looking at us like, what are they doing? But they can't help but laugh too because
Yeah, it's
I'm crying,
contagious.
he's crying, we can't breathe. I'm, you know, I'm talking to God, remembering himself through my body, like, please help me with something. And then what happens is I all of a sudden surrender and I just laugh so hard that I'm like drooling and then it finally passes. And I'm like, yep, okay, I get it. I get it. Oh, just
Well,
cool.
these little masters, I think, are here to teach us. That's why they're so dang cute. And like Luciana's had a sense of humor like her whole life, and she's, you know, like I don't think a sense of humor is something that you really learn. I think it's something that you lean into, you know.
Yeah.
And
Oh
maybe
yeah.
some people kind of cut themselves off. But some of my most funny, like hilarious jokes and moments have just been, like you said, laughing with Creator. I feel like I've literally had like dreams doing stand-up comedy, and I wake up laughing and I have a whole bit and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta write this down. And this is usually what I've done it a couple times, and I'm feeling challenged to do it again. But basically, when I'm you know, I always tell people this. I'm like about the dreams and stuff, and I say I believe it's Creator's way of getting people to laugh at me through him and through telling these jokes that are just totally ridiculous, highbrow spiritual jokes. Um, and I want to go back, and there's a couple things I want to say about the hunting too. You reminded me of, and that
Okay.
moment of expansion. But what you said about the letters, I think, is really important, and that's why I don't call them a book. They are letters, and letters are what we do when we have a relationship with someone. We write them letters, and so that's the importance of the Christ letters. And he says this in like page 1. He says that these letters will liberate you. They are truth, and they are a direct bridge in consciousness between his transcendent consciousness and our own. And he says, even in a few points in the letters, he said these words are just shadow forms that I'm using to point at the truth that exists within you and is the highest under that it points towards the highest level of consciousness that you can seek at this time on this planet. He's not saying this is the end all be all. This is the next Bible. You got to and even the rules that he presents towards spiritual enlightenment in the later messages, they're rules towards walking the Christ way. They're to help us to transcend the ego. So we don't, so like, just like you introduce yourself, imagine every being on this planet recognizing that we are all one another, and we are the embodiment of creator, and we are all this. So it's not that, I mean, there's a lot of things that he doesn't talk about in the letters because I don't think it's
Yeah, I was
relevant.
gonna say that like there's not a whole lot of integrating the darkness, right? Like so the light comes from the dark, so that's a part of creation itself, and it's very important. And people, would be wise to get hip with that if they wanted to do something about it, right? Like understanding how this primordial chaos is the thing that allows a mother to lift a car off a child, right?
Mm,
How it allows a father to beat his chest and protect his family at any cost and come out successful every damn time, right?
yeah.
Uh,
I witnessed my dad lift a tree off me when I was logging with him. I was about 14. I was
I
pulling, I was,
guarantee you, as much as that strength came from the light, it came from the dark. Because he's like, I'll be damned if I let this happen to my boy.
yeah. Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, Justin, and I think this is an important distinction. I've been having this conversation for probably decades now, and we talked about it. Actually, I just finished doing a 42-hour live marathon in our school community, and we did talk about the problem of evil. The recording didn't work. I was doing a test for the platform, but like you can
Ah,
you can have internal things. So it would have been like it cut off at some point at 30 hours, and I haven't seen it. I think it just went into the ethers. But the problem of evil came up, and
yeah.
I want to talk about this with you because to me there's a very big difference between darkness and evil. And
Okay.
evil
Uh,
to me is the acronym that I was inspired with. Probably more than a decade now. It's every vice imposed on life.
yeah.
And when you think about that, it could be something very brutal, like how if you look at human history, it's not too hard to see. And the question came is like, well, is evil really exist? Like, is it real? Does it exist? And this is my perception of it. But when you look at it in this framework, even a subtle thought that goes against someone and thinks that person's stupid, or a critical thought, or any animosity you're holding energetically towards something, there is a certain level of imposition. It can be very, very subtle. And it goes against what you spoke about early, and also, pardon me, of what Ruiz talks about, that's idea of perfection. Because if life is perfect and you are perfect and your neighbors are, it's only our perceptions and our beliefs about others that needs to be healed. And
Right.
Christ does talk about that. And the other thing you talk about, like that primordial chaos, that's actually, it's a very subtle part of the letters. And I think the letters have like,
That's what I consider evil. I just don't give it a good or bad context. I just
oh,
understand that the chaos is like the first part of consciousness and creation, right? The raw primordial chaos. And
yeah.
this is magnetic in its nature, right? And then that's the womb also of existence.
Mm,
And then you
mm,
get the electricity that comes in,
mm,
that is the physical essence of everything else, which, with the intention is then good, but is it, or is order, right? But that's why good and evil, is it good versus evil, or is it just these things of chaos happen, these moments of chaos happening, so that these moments of harmonic order can come
mm.
into existence, right? Like it's like these people have to fall away from source sometimes to remember what it's like whenever they do have that moment of reconvergence, right?
Yeah.
Harmonically. And like, oh shit, I remember, okay, we are one of like one whole thing. And that time that I did this thing wasn't good or bad. It was just
Hmm.
what I needed to come to this point of awareness. I'm grateful for that because that
Hmm.
too served me in my experience of remembrance and, moving on. And not to say that, people having, oh, this is good, this is bad. I'm not saying that's good or bad for them either. I'm just saying it doesn't resonate for me because
Hmm.
for me, it's quite limiting. There is no good, there is no bad. When fire happens, things fall and things grow. So what am I supposed to do? Because one kind of cancels
Hmm.
out the other. And it's
Hmm.
just, for me, the way I see it is just, the effects of harmonics, quantum things happening. It's like for
Hmm.
every, reaction, there's an opposite thing, whatever that quote he said was. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of like
Yeah.
look at it like that. And um
Well,
yeah,
I don't know. It's one of the things I've recognized in the letters is because I've been reading them for about 11 years now,
You have? I
over
read
over
them
a
one
decade.
time for like a couple weeks.
Yeah. So I'm the thing that I've noticed about the letters is they like what he says about them being a bridge in consciousness is sometimes I will have read it like maybe the seventh time I've read a certain letter. I can't tell you how many times I've read them, and now I read them sporadically, like section. I don't read them straight through because they're actually nonlinear for anyone kind of going
Yeah,
into them.
true that.
They are nonlinear. Like he talks about the importance of meditation all throughout it, and then but he only explains really how to meditate in the way that he's meaning in letter eight. So or originally letter seven, and there's some context there. But what you said about the primordial chaos, he actually says in the for eons in our view of time, the first the Big Bang was driven from consciousness of both impulses. You could describe it as the mother impulse of consciousness to bond and reject. And you see it in mothers, right? Like protecting their womb, their womb and their child. And when their child's born, they have that, they call it mama bears, like, so there's the bonding and rejection, and then the father being the will. And so you can understand the will wants to go, like, I want to go out, I want to go with my friends. And the mother's like, no, stay, you gotta paint the house. So there's this pull, but that pull causes the spiral of equilibrium that is the space that we're between us that touches all things and within us. And at the moment of tension, the highest tension of consciousness, and this is what he talks about, where laughter comes from. There's a release, and he says that it wasn't like there was this blueprint of okay, we're gonna make Earth and we're gonna have all these things, we're gonna have peoples. No, he talks about it was just utter chaos of impulses, and that lasted for a long, long time. And so the magnetic drive of the mother and the father's physical drive are or they're like finding their way and they're working independently and interdependently and they're forming form, and which is what
And
I
they're
think.
still working as source where they're
Yes,
connected before they had their split and duality, right?
yes.
Like that. So it's just this big ass hologram of all this stuff going on, right? And yeah,
That is one way you could describe it. Yeah, and the thing is, when you talk about that source is intelligence, love itself, and he describes the mother as the loving intelligence and the father as the intelligent love. So when you really think like use our bodies as a perfect example, like the level of intelligence within our body transcends our personal awareness of consciousness. Like
yeah, oh yeah,
our
totally.
this the activity that our cells are doing at this very moment, repairing, regenerating, digesting, growing, like we have barely any comprehension of even how that functions. We might know the how it does in our very like specialized science. Like one person might really know one thing about the enzymatic reaction process of the COX-2 enzyme filter in this particular part of the cell, like very well. But the why and the wellspring, we barely even can comprehend that, right? Like we barely even understand how a woman starts growing milk and having the glands as she's like the body's so intelligent in its preparation. So I wanted to, because this is really when you talk about like darkness, to me that is what that is. Um it's that primordial chaos, and like I look at like creatures like earthworms and all the creepy crawlers and stuff, like they live under the earth, and there's many. And I think we were talking before we got on the show of like our interstellar brothers and sisters that may not always have the most beautiful appearance in our human perception of things, but they have transcended certain levels of an understanding and qualities of life, and they are extraordinarily beautiful and majestic expressions of that formation of consciousness. So I think we're being prepared as a species to come to a place where we can start appreciating these darker things. But I think it's only by dealing with our own quote unquote evil, and that's, I know we maybe are just seeing it's like we have to become masters of our own perception, right?
It's what my Sifu Yuli Rodriguez says right there. He's like, bro, I ain't trying to control you in the fight. I control myself first, and then the outcome is that I just so happen to get control of you,
Hmm,
right? So it's
interesting.
like, yeah, man, like one always really needs to like, because if you're gonna throw a punch or you're gonna block a punch, like you got to make sure that you're under control. You got to make sure your sensitivity is there. You got to make sure your
Mm,
structure is there, your timing, all that stuff, right? So take care of number one, and then you get to worry about everything else around you. So
mm,
it's like, yeah, that's one thing that Kung Fu has taught me, and it's not so much in like the physical like aggression of it, right? But it's just more of like, whenever you're at the office and you're going through this meeting and this dude's going through your head, and you're just like, ugh, and and you do that internal
mm.
tonsao or bong sao and just energetically deflect that, right? It's like
Interesting.
it's so much deeper than the physical. And it's like, that's why I always wear my warrior spirit band, because I've already fought all the external fights that need to be fought because I've taken the time to love myself,
Mm,
right? And then I
mm,
took all the journey in between being born and learning how to love myself.
mm.
A lot of physicality going on in there that I'm not trying to necessarily re-embody,
Yeah,
unless I need to call on my primordial chaos,
yeah,
right? If I need to call on my primordial chaos, then you bet your ass.
yeah. No, I love that, man. And I love how you describe it as a journey of self-love. I think that's what mastery is,
Yeah,
like,
dude, you spoke it. You spoke it. Like, that's what Kung Fu is, right? Like, and whenever I say Kung Fu, I'm speaking for so many mastery disciplines here, right?
mm,
Like, you just get this hunk of coal, and then you get to like look at all the ways that you can make diamonds and whatnot, and then you get to apply the pressure you want. You get to cook it and make all the little facets and flaws and, the little feather thing that women like in diamonds. You can make that in your mastery of whatever
mm,
you want, right? It's, that's where mastery is coming
mm.
from, is putting yourself under this, time and tension under pressure, and you come
Yeah.
out as a beautiful, crystalline, structured consciousness.
Yeah, no, I love how you say that, man. And one of the things that he talks about in the letters is that, life really begins once we've transcended the ego. And he describes the realm of Christ consciousness as where there are innumerable beings all expressing uniquely in aspects of creativity and imagination that we can barely even begin to grasp here on Earth. So what you just
I
said
feel like I
about,
was born last year because of
yeah,
that. That's whenever I had my
mm,
harmonic convergence. So I feel like that resonates because it is like a shift in time. It's like I had a life before and I was
mhm.
just reborn, and we're about a year into it. And man, oh man, is it fun. Woo! Let me tell you. If this is what it's like to be a kid, bring it, you
Oh,
know?
I think just people listening to your passion and energy alone will be inspired to take some steps towards self-mastery, and that and really it is a journey of love, right? I think a lot, Justyn, about that statement of, it's the mastery of the state of unconditional love. What does that mean to you? Like
So that's
you
so
talked about
so
it in the
so
beginning.
that's
What is unconditional
528.
love?
That's 528 hertz.
Okay.
And it is the foundational nature of an energetic plasmic being having a spiritual human experience.
Hmm.
Anything lower than that causes distortion and chaos in the body.
Hmm.
And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So what I'm saying is that our natural state of being is, and people can hook themselves up to all kinds of monitors and check this stuff out, right? Heart Math Institute, all kinds of stuff. Um, what I'm saying is that if we want to experience the most we can in life, we need to be in the state of consciousness, the embodiment of unconditional love for ourselves first, which is you loving existence,
Hmm.
because you are existence yourself, remembering. And whenever you do that, you've got access to this higher vibrational set of living. It's like joy, bliss, ecstasy, etc. And then you can do things like, I've got two best friends that I, love very much right now that are, they're both on their path in different things. And like they're both kind of, I don't know, their harmonics are like doing that thing,
Hmm.
right? They're like almost there, but they're doing that thing. And like I felt fear, and I just felt anger, and instead I just started laughing, made myself start laughing, threw myself into gratitude, and started crying about how much I love both of them. And I'm like, F it. They could both go on their path. I'm there for them both. I see myself in them.
Hmm.
Man, I don't know what brought that one on, but
No, I think it's this thing is really beautiful, and I feel like it's an important message in these times where there is a divergence. You talk a lot about convergence. There is a
yeah,
divergence of choices that people are making. Like the
yeah,
consciousness energies that are available to us on this planet at this time are such that if one wishes to awaken, the opportunity to do that in an accelerated pace is here now. Like the energy is available.
The Schumann
However,
resonance.
the ability to go into darkness and diversions and to stay in lower states is equally here because
The
I mean, no,
5G and all the shit that they use.
well, there's okay, you could look at it that, but just from the simple pragmatic stance of how available it is, Justin. Like when I was a child, I mean, some people had satellites. At some point, I did, but it was a lot of a lot of the television was boring, and daytime television was like it was. I mean, there was people back then probably addicted to like
Tele live vision.
uh, yeah, television. But now look at the power. I mean, like to me, children were like there was a big thing when I was a child about like how Ninja Turtles was violent and kids were acting like Ninja Turtles and stuff. But now what is available to people, I mean, I turn on some of these streaming things, and it's just 98% violent stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and and they're
Violence or
making
some lower vibrational shit. Yeah, for sure.
right. Well, and this is the thing though, but like before it was like, you could only watch TVs for so long before you wanted to go outside and play with your friends. Like
Yeah.
there
Because
was
there wasn't that
commercials.
much content.
There
Yeah.
wasn't that much content. Like, like my sister would watch reruns of so much of The Simpsons. Like, and I'm like, how can you watch the same episode like 12 times?
Ren
Like,
and Stimpy. Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
there was a lot, and it grew over time. But now we're in a place where, without even advertisements, people can plug in, watch endless streams that they're making constantly. So, like, what my point is, like, if you want to stay asleep, you can easily do that too.
Yeah.
And that's very available to you. You can just order something from your phone. You
Well,
don't even have to leave your house anymore.
I just want to say this. This is probably for me where unconditional love is the most important, right? And understanding as much mathematics, sacred geometry,
Hmm.
like harmonic understanding with energy and
Let's talk about that, man.
energy oscillations. Like whenever you understand that truth, like you can never abandon it.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So all of that stuff that wants to bring you back doesn't really matter
yeah, and
because
that is
you are a
true.
co-creator in your belief in all the mathematics that verify it that are blowing your mind. Just they give you more belief,
Mm,
right? Just like the Green Lantern, it's about his belief in his power, and it's right here for him.
hmm.
And the more that he understands it, the more powerful he is. It's like they're just telling us what we are.
Yeah, yeah,
And so
no, I hear what you're saying, and I do agree that past a certain level of awakening, you cannot turn it off. Like you just know too much.
and
You've
it comes
experienced too
with a
much.
certain set of protection, right? Whenever you know that it's not germs that get you sick,
Hmm.
when you know it is your thoughts,
Hmm.
the germs can't affect you anymore because you have risen to a
Hmm.
higher vibrational awareness where atoms and molecules act a little bit differently depending
Hmm.
upon how you're observing them. And if
Hmm.
you are observing them as if my 9 meter bubble of energy ain't letting shit in,
Hmm.
guess what's happening?
Yeah,
You're sovereign.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
But
and
I
you're
hear you though, brother. I
yeah,
hear you for the ones that might be like, I don't really know what they're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
it's
probably didn't make it this far in the conversation if that's the
yeah,
case.
yeah.
Unless they really
I,
want to know, and in case,
they
good
do.
news for you. Good for
They do.
you
That's why
know.
they're here.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think yeah, I think whenever you yeah, before you kind of get to where we are, you kind of feel like there's this pressure on you, right? And it's like there's something in the back of your head that's like, don't worry, everything's always working for you.
Mm,
But then there's something else that's like, no, it's not. What was that?
mm,
Right. And it's like once you get to that point of self-love,
mm,
there's no more of that little voice in the back of your head because your love is so deep and so
mm,
strong and so pure in your understanding of what you are for yourself first and then existence that it's like it just it's like that paradox that we can't really explain. You collapse into yourself just to expand. I don't know. Talk about it later.
mm. Yeah. Well, to me, I think metaphors and symbols and things are really important on the journey too, because some of these things
Totally.
that we
They
experience
unlock.
are, yeah, they unlock, and also a lot of the experiences that I've had personally are very difficult to put into words. It's taken me, in some instances, over a decade to really be able to articulate what was happening, and still there still exists components of mystery for me too, and I like the symbol, like you talk about the pressure and forming our own diamond. To me, I use the symbol a lot of the caterpillar as it goes through metamorphosis, and as its imaginal cells of what it can become activate, it has to go through this period of resistance, and then it has to struggle through this cocoon in order to be shaped. We all come to, I mean, if we're born has nature intended and we're going through the vaginal canal, that pressure really forms so much of the robustness. It also exposes us to the microbiome that we need to be really healthy. Like the element of pressure in life is so important, and I think that it's the same with mastery. Any step, like when you talk about self-love, like it can sound like, oh, lovey-dovey, love and light and stuff, but when something really happens in your life that turns your life upside down, which has happened to a lot of people, especially in the last 5 years. A lot of people have, lost work. They've been exposed to some of these, actions and gross actions. You mentioned, a few of them with technological impositions and things. If we can still maintain our ability to love unconditionally, well, that is not necessarily an easy thing to choose, right?
Yeah, because loving unconditionally does not mean unconditional or unconditional tolerance.
Right. It doesn't mean
Right?
not having boundaries, and it doesn't mean condoning behavior.
Yeah, yeah.
But it does mean that choosing love, even though, and sometimes choosing loves means cutting
Dog.
people out of your life and
Right now,
having,
I'm dealing with that right now. Big boundaries. Like
yeah,
this is like my
boundaries.
first year of really understanding what the hell boundaries are for, and like the most pure like way to love yourself. And
Yeah.
I've got certain things that are going on within my family. And it's like I love these people unconditionally. They know it. But until certain shit is acknowledged, this boundary is up because I'm not gonna let myself be triggered because I
Mhm.
love myself.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want
yeah.
these eyeballs to get bigger than they are. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to be triggered and be who I am, not wanting to embody all the time. Even though I am
Mhm.
chaos, yes, I get it, I love it, but I'm not trying to embody that shit all the time. It's
Right.
exhausting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I put those boundaries there, and back in the day, I used to say shit, right? Like, all
Mhm.
right, no more, done. Next week I'd be there, and I'd be like, it's part, that human conditioning thing. But
Mhm.
you get to this point where it's like, am I just doing the same thing over and over and over until I learn not to do it?
Mhm.
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at. And it's like, I'm not going back on these boundaries. And it
Yeah,
doesn't mean that someone's got to come to you and say, oh, I'm sorry,
yeah,
right? Because to me, sorry, the best sorry is to understand the pattern that needs to change. And then it changed and it stays that way consistently.
yeah,
That's better than
yeah,
sorry. Right. And
yeah, for sure.
it's not like, oh, you're right and we're wrong. It's like we understand that we have crossed these boundaries and we understand the repercussions if it happens again. And it's not because we hear the call to rise to
Yeah.
your unconditional self-love for ourselves so that we can start loving
Hmm.
you with this unconditional. That's kind of like,
Hmm.
how but you're right, man. Like sometimes putting these boundaries up throw people into panic because their nervous system is not ready for this type of
Hmm.
truth. To
Hmm.
see someone love themselves so much more than they love their own partner type stuff, but then see them translate that directly to their partner with purity or like their child or whatever, like that scares people. They're like, damn,
Hmm.
he loves that hard?
Yeah.
Like this dude's like from a movie or a TV show or something like that. That's not real.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, baby. Come get some. Come get some love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
embody
it's
that.
fierce love. I have this thought, it's more of maybe a theory too, that um I feel like that's the underlying fear. Uh, you know, I think Marianne Williamson pointed to it in her quote about like we're all afraid of our true power. But
Yeah.
I think, well, what is the true power that we're afraid of? And it's love itself. Love is, so when I contemplate unconditional love, it goes for many years. It was like in the context that we're talking about here, it was like no matter what, I love myself and I love people and no matter what. But now, probably in the last few years, my contemplation has expanded to embrace more of the not knowing of how powerful love is itself. And when
Yeah.
if we think that the cosmic powers that create worlds and that are the fundamental understanding and underlying reality, I think, Einstein's equation just which was a culminating equation of many, advanced minds of
Yeah.
understanding
And it
this.
wasn't finished either when he was done.
Right. Yeah, and
Still people
so
working on it and refining it and adding other things to it. And it's just
But
as much as theory as the shit he was doing. So, but it's an expansion on it, which is beautiful.
yeah, exactly. And but my point is that they're pointing to the power that's inside of an atom and like
Oh
how
yeah,
powerful just
vacuum,
in
zero
one
vacuum.
atom. And like even the letters he says, you know, we're like an atomic bomb is like a poof in like barely anything from our vantage of consciousness. When I think of that as the power of unconditional love
Yeah.
and the mastery of unconditional love, that takes on a whole other dimension, brother.
You know
Like,
what it makes, you know what it makes me think? And I've had this experience before. What if you loved yourself so unconditionally that all you could do was breathe?
hmm,
And I'm
hmm,
not talking like, I love myself. I'm talking about breathing like you're remembering that you're God.
hmm.
I'm talking about breathing like you are remembering you are consciousness, remember, consciousness as the field of existence that you are in, remembering itself through your divine temple. And I've had
Yeah,
these experiences.
I have.
No,
Yeah, you have as well. I love to hear your experience of that. No, you don't want to share. That's
no,
fine.
of course I do. Of course I do. Of course I
I
do.
love it.
So
You're just
yeah,
you're just teasing us. Like I've had these amazingly complex, expansive, all mind-altering experiences. You want to share it? No.
no, I will.
Topic.
I'll share.
This is
I'll
like
share.
one of those awkward moments on like on the news where they ask somebody a thing and it just goes sideways and the news
Right.
broadcaster gets really insulting.
No, we're gonna bring truth into it, right? Because I have nothing to hide.
Yeah. Yeah, me
So
neither, brother.
I would say this, man. I would say my most yeah, dog. All right. Here we go. So my most, and if you talk to the close people in my life about this too, it's like it's just such an interesting story. I love it. Um, my most expansive experience thus far was like in two parts. I had met these lovely individuals that provided um a conscious altering ceremony for me. And this is a very ancient medicine known as 5-MeO DMT. And so in the experience, it's like, man, you can't even. So I just remember getting like my whole nervous system getting whelmed, right? To this point where all I could do was just lay back and breathe. And I'm just sucking in through my nose and sucking out. And I fall into this breath rhythm. And I'm holding this like awareness of singularity as I'm like separating from myself. And I'm like, okay, just trust yourself. I'm forgetting my name and who I am. I'm collapsing into myself. I go into this dark void place and I'm like, oh, this is the void. This is what Buddhists talk about. What do I do here? I'm like, I don't know. I'm scared to death. And I'm like, well, guess what? Let it go. And I said, all right, cool. And I let it go. And the moment I did, there was a light that went off inside of like right here, right? Like I'm in this whole black thing that's infinite. This is like very big in here, very the darkest I've ever seen, right? But then right here, there was this light after I surrendered to the fact that I was in this black void and everything was going to be okay and just surrender into myself. And
And you're
whenever I
pointing to your
did,
solar plexus, correct? Just for our listeners.
oof, man, like the center of like my dantian, right? Like this
Mm,
whole thing right here, just the spark came from there. And whenever it sparked, that's whenever I collapsed into myself. And
mm,
whenever I did, I was this moment of singularity. And I was like that energy I was speaking about, that I loved myself so damn much, all I could do was breathe. And then I remember in the experience loving Justyn Skylar Bougeno. Do you know who you are? Do you? Because I'm having this harmonic understanding of how I'm connected to the fabric of existence, dude.
mm,
This
mm,
is like unheard of.
mm,
And so and I was like completely separated and like talking to myself like from my oversoul, like, higher self vantage point,
mm,
which is, source to a degree. I believe there may be multiple advantage points, like higher self and then like
mm,
source self,
mm,
right? And it was just, dude, breathtaking. And I remember coming out of the experience with so much love. I was just crying and I was kissing myself
mm,
essentially. And I was understanding what God is in the sense of remembering the divine self through the divine flesh temple,
mm,
right? And Uh, brother, I think if you're going to be president of the United States, you need to do this at least 12 times. I think if you're going to be the leader of any body
Yeah.
of people, or yourself even, they feel the invitation, go for
Yeah.
it, because it just, it's something that and I won't say that it's the only thing that committed to my, or that kind of induced the harmonic convergence, right? It was, and I'm grateful, very grateful for the ancient practices behind this medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it is the culmination. It is all those little dots of experiences, right? All these little
Mm,
things, these little facts that I'm like, why do I have these? Like, why do I have this awareness here? And why am I holding these facts here? That like who cares that you can only see the Great Wall of China from space? But it's like, then you find out that it wasn't China's wall. It was maybe a Moorish wall that was trying to keep the other side out, and just all these things. And yeah,
mm,
5 meal was a thing that connected everything for me.
interesting.
And yeah, I'm just so grateful for the experience. And for me, it was like such a synchronicity in that observer effect, right? Because I'm seeing the world pre my own personal harmonic convergence,
Mm,
which I've been able to induce this experience with breath. It was kind of like the thing that showed me like what to look for in meditation and what breath
mm,
rhythms do. So I'm
mm,
able to create endogenous DMT in my body through breath, and that's
mm-hmm.
what I work with. And
Because DMT is a naturally occurring substance that the
yeah,
body
yeah,
can
yeah,
make, right?
absolutely. Yeah, your body produces DMT whenever you're born,
Mm,
whenever you are in altered states of consciousness, sometimes, I think usually whenever you die or
mm-hmm.
have that transition.
And
Um,
my understanding is one of the challenges of maintaining those states is that the body reabsorbs DMT very, very quickly. So it's
I would say it's more the nervous system not being able to hold on to the frequency is
oh,
what I
okay,
would say. I
okay.
would say that if you're doing the work, right, if you're doing the meditation, if you're turning
Mm,
left 33 times a day up to 3 times a day to equal 99, that is opening up your nervous system. That's doing
interesting.
the big breathing that's going to really open you up and literally make your body vibrate and feel like someone's pushing right
Mm,
on your root chakra. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? It's like
hmm.
it alters
Interesting.
your state of consciousness. Absolutely.
And
And
when
and
you are,
90% of what you make whenever it comes to serotonin and DMT, a lot of it is created in our stomach more so than we would think. If
oh,
I'm not
interesting.
mistaken, about 90% of our serotonin is actually created in our stomach, which is,
Okay.
one reason, if you think about it, like they say, that's like our first brain, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
put
that's
things in.
fascinating. And you're talking about like actually spinning around in circles as well.
Yeah, yeah, going to the left. Yeah, which I think there's
To
an
the
interest.
left? Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Because
to
usually
the
the five Tibetan rites, the rejuvenation rites, you spin in a circle 21 times clockwise. So you're talking about going counterclockwise.
yeah. So I had a download about that one, and I've been doing it, and I can tell that it's opening my nervous system.
The
I
five
also
Tibetan
noticed
rites,
that
or
just
these.
the spinning 33 times left.
Okay, okay.
I also know that it's training that astronauts do for their nervous system so
Oh,
that
is
they
it?
can hold. Yeah, but that little spinny thing that they put them in.
Oh
They
yeah, but yeah, that's like velocity. It's funny. I'm actually really curious about this because Luciana has I've spun her around a few times, and she was like having so much joy of like you know that feeling when
kids
you're
remember.
yeah. And so now she asks me all the time, and we spin a lot, and because she's constantly asking me, like because I do like that the turning for the Tibetan rites and stuff, I have a pretty well balanced vestibular system, and I don't get very dizzy. But now because she's always wanting to do it, like I can spin for a long periods of time, and I don't really get dizzy. I might
that
unwind
that is
spin.
training your nervous system to hold higher states of coherence, which is
Interesting.
what you want your body to do whenever it produces any type of DMT, whether it's
Okay.
like the NN-DMT, which gives you the harmonic,
Hmm.
multidimensional, etheric entity experience, or the 5-MeO, which gives you straight to source consciousness
Hmm.
experience, right? Like you want your nervous system, because it's like we are the medicine, right?
Hmm.
All these are tools, reminders, right?
Hmm.
Like go
Yeah.
remember this frequency, hold on to it, do the work, grab
Yeah.
the awareness and bring that frequency outside of the medicine and outside of the
Yeah.
space with centering discernment and
Hmm.
analytical awareness, right? Like, so it's like, going into these spaces and then holding, and that's why I kind of feel like I'm like a light bearer, right? I'll go
Mm.
into the dark spaces and I will
Yeah.
come back with this information so that we can go to the next point of existence, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what all these breath work, body movements, kung fu, spinning, all this stuff is doing, is it's opening up the nervous system so it can hold these
Hmm.
higher states of consciousness. Because whenever, the first person is able to communicate with telepathy, there might be a good group of people that are like, I can't hear shit.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
haven't done the nervous system work that needs to be
Hmm.
done for
Hmm.
them,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
there's going to be certain people that are like probably born with this shit,
Yeah.
and just like all of a sudden they have that telepathy.
Yeah.
And it's like that super rooted intuition type thing.
Mm.
It's like, two people be in a room and it's like, you think the same thing I'm thinking? Yeah. How you doing that? I don't know. All right, let's do it then. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like,
Well, Christ
so
says very plainly in the letters that we're all psychic. It's just a fact of existence,
dude,
and
we're all connected, dog. We
yeah,
all,
exactly.
it's not even psychic, man. It's
Yeah.
like, think about the quantum in it, right? If we're all
Yeah.
connected to the same source, what the hell do you
Yeah.
think's happening?
Yeah.
All we're doing is clearing the shit out so we can connect to that frequency, which
Yeah.
is it's the big chat box that everyone has
Yeah.
access to if they're willing to do the work or hold the awareness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you just reveal things to yourself as existence itself. You
Hmm.
reveal things to
Hmm.
yourself. You ain't hiding for something. You're not making yourself work for
Right.
anything, but you are following the path that you have already planned out for yourself, and destiny isn't solidified. It can always change, right? You have choices, you have free will.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're not locked into one destiny. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
choose to continue finding the truth, or you can find out a truth and be like, whoa, damn, that's nope, not going to do that. You got a choice.
Yeah.
And your destiny will be one thing if you can see the truth and want to be a world teacher and usher in higher thought perspectives, etc. Right?
Hmm.
Or you can just, be like, oh no, that's just a lot of work right now.
It is a
Choice.
lot of work.
Different destiny.
The path of awakening, it can be a lot of work, and it requires like a relentless, honest self-honesty and humility. Also, I would say humility not in the sense of like playing small, but humility in the sense of wonder, like childlike wonder and awe at the miracles of life. And that's really the
Mhm.
foundational part of like what we're establishing with Light Heart Vision, is like remembering that we're miracles. What I love about what you said, Justyn, is the importance of training the nervous system, doing the physiological work to embody the higher states of consciousness is, I think, is a very important part of the what you said. Like all of our leaders in society should have transcendent experiences that we know that our plant teachers can give us. And you're not the first person I've heard say
So,
that. Joe
no,
Rogan's has a lot of
Graham Hancock said the same shit.
exactly right.
He said ayahuasca though.
Yeah, and you know what? Whether it's psilocybin, ayahuasca,
Right. Bring it.
5M, essentially they're all like ayahuasca also is a DMT inducer. So it's like this,
Yeah.
and so I think DMT is the scientific understanding, but like you have had these experiences without any substance,
Yes.
and I've tasted that it is
That's
a
the breath thing I was telling you about.
yeah,
That's secret shit
yeah,
right there.
yeah.
Secret is only a secret because you have to hold the higher awareness to understand what it is. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
it's a secret. You ain't gonna know about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like this, the complexity and the simplicity in breathing in a certain rhythm
Mm-hmm.
that unleashes this state of consciousness within you. You know what I'm saying? In the training of taking your nervous system, which is the thing that receives messages from the field, the
Mm-hmm.
quantum field, right? And opening up so it is the freaking field,
Yeah.
are
And
the freaking
I
message.
think that's really important understanding that like the nervous system and the brain are receivers. It's like a capacitor. And it's a flipping of the paradigm that that I'm intelligent or more intelligent than another. It's like, no, 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 no. I have opened up a certain capacity for the intelligence to express and to
Mhm.
be embodied within me. So, Justin, maybe for a takeaway, like or like an activity for people listening, what would you suggest when you're first starting breath work? Like, what
Okay.
kind of patterns or things do you do?
Man, okay, so I always like to switch it up. Just for new experiences, right? It's kind of like that Dr. Joe Dispenza thing, right? Like getting out of the routine, the mundane, switch it
Hmm.
up. So
Hmm.
I just kind of like pick a few things that resonate with me, and then I'll just like kind of cycle whatever I'm feeling. Because maybe some days I don't want to sit still, dog.
Mm.
I'm gonna listen to that internal wisdom. I'm
Yeah.
gonna listen to my ancient heart and be like, okay, what do I need? Do I need to breathe and stretch? Do I need to breathe and move? Do I need to sing? Do I need to sing? You know what I'm saying? Like
Sounds
I'll
like you
sing.
really want to sing. You can go ahead and sing right now, man.
Hey, dude, I was singing before you and I got on because that's one way I
Yeah.
drop into my heart, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not here to
Yeah.
be fake or like
Yeah.
have people say some shit other than what's right here.
Yeah.
It's like I
Yeah.
know how
I love
beautiful
that.
this is, and I'm
Yeah.
totally cool with everyone seeing that shit. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
It's
saying?
yeah, it's so funny. Julia or Luciana has started to sing as well, and singing has been a big part of my journey. And what and it was actually when you were talking about the hunting thing, it reminded me of some of the teachings I've heard, and then how important it is the states of consciousness that indigenous peoples would practice. They would like dress in their best clothes to go
They
hunting.
would jump for like 24 hours to induce these states of conscious, all kinds of things.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard that one before, but like this like caring for the quality of life and that relationship that we have is like what I'm
Mhm.
hearing you talk about too, right? So it's like honoring the like I love how you said that's the ancient heart, and um there was this video I would often share when I was teaching the interconnection of science. It was a course that I originally built for a program called the Pathways to Indigenous Empowerment. And in this course, it was like blank slate. Like it was really about bridging Indigenous sciences and Western science. So I did this
Yeah,
like flyby of all the Western
important.
sciences, explained, the originations of like Greek and Greek times, the scientific method, all this stuff. But
Right.
my like lifelong question has been the to comprehend how everything is interconnected and what are the things that interconnect everything. And I found
Yeah.
this cool video on YouTube by Tom Chi, and he talks about three things that interconnect us. One being the breath, the other being the heart, and the other being what is it? Sound. He talks about the piano.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it
Frequency
might be
sound.
sound, or anyways, but I wanted to talk about the heart because something you
Yeah.
said when you said the ancient heart, one of the things he talked about, man, is our hearts only function because there's an iron molecule that basically keeps the rhythm going on. There's a certain cell in the heart that basically keeps the rhythm of the valve operating properly. And if that gets affected, that's why they have to put like I think pacemakers and stuff. So, but the iron molecule, the heart would not function without iron. And he goes into this great story about how the only way that iron can be formed is through supernovas. And the only way supernovas form is from basically galaxies colliding and stars colliding with each other. And that's what we need to have a heart. So like that's an example of how interconnected we are truly with the cosmos. And I just
I
thought
think that explains how we come from stardust.
yeah, exactly. We come from stardust. And so that magic and that majesty of life, I think is what Christ was talking about when he said only through returning to being like a child again do you
Yeah.
enter into a state of consciousness. Because like we've just like we've been talking on the
It doesn't
show.
mean being innocent either. I want to say that entering this as a child, like sometimes whenever you enter this state, like your brain goes to mush and you lose like
Hmm.
basic motor functions.
That's what happened to me. I was going to tell you about my transcendent experience. Like it was in a traditional fasting lodge, and
Oh, cool.
yeah. So what and how? I
Was
mean,
this the
there's
one that you just did?
no, no.
Okay.
I have been fasting. I was actually after listening to Robert Edward Grant's videos that you sent me. Maybe we can talk about him a little bit.
Oh,
That because he talked about reverse aging, and he's had this whole
yeah.
awareness of
Everything
how
that
we're
we're doing,
traveling
it
through time.
lengthens
Yeah,
your telomeres. Yeah.
yeah. I would love to have a conversation with him one day. I think it would be really
Man,
fascinating.
I'm sure after this episode, he'll probably hit you up.
We'll see. I mean, but I really appreciated how he was talking about how fasting really helped him because the only times before this, I tend to do a lot of cleanses, like I'll do like the Master's Cleanse or whatnot. But I had man, I did an 8-day cleanse, like 8-day fast, probably about 2 months ago now, maybe 2.5 months. And on the eighth day, I was like, Julia, like I feel like I'm high. Like I feel like I have so
That's
I
that
was on a
energy shit.
oh, it was big time. So I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna follow the cycles of the moon, and I did. Only did a 3 day um uh fast just this past one, and I feel like I would have gone longer, but I had some emotional stuff come up, and I gave myself an excuse to.
Uh,
Yeah, it wasn't maybe the best decision, but you know what? I'm going with the flow. Especially we're managing a lot and stuff with the little girl,
brother, like you
but
said, sometimes we gotta experience that chaos,
there you
right?
go.
To
Yeah,
get to our point. So you
yeah.
did exactly what you were meant to do, dog. You always are.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for calling me out there.
Radical
I love
accountability and
you,
honesty with
brother.
oneself will help you hold that space for your brothers.
So the experience that I actually had was in a traditional fasting lodge, and it's going to be it's the second book that I'm writing as part of a trilogy of these moments. It's the books are all pointed of these singular moments in time. So when you say, converging harmonics, each of these books is part of a series that evolves and is part of they're all each one of them is focusing on this moment. Me, this moment was so in this traditional lodge, how it works in the tradition that I was doing it is that you start it with a sweat. So you have a feast, then you go into a sweat, and then after the sweat is over, that's when your fast starts. And this would be like in the Algonquin area, like so Anishinaabe kind of tradition is the keeper that guided me in this particular one. I've done a few, but this particular one I had a very powerful experience, and it was my first day doing a 4 day 4 night fast. And it's I mean the whole thing is quite a story. I don't know how much time I want to take here today, but
I'm here,
um
brother.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so
Whatever resonates in your heart.
yeah, sure. So, I mean, part of it is I really wanted to do this in a way that really helped connect me to the land. The spirit name that carries me is Ondakin, and Aki means land. So, if you were to translate it, it says keeper of the land. So it's like a role of stewardship. And the way I see my body is the land because it's an expression of the mother's consciousness form. And so I built the lodge because usually you would take like saplings that are either maple or ideally they're willow. So they're very flexible. And
Yeah, yeah.
you make a lodge that's,
Oh, the sweat lodge. Yeah, Neepy. Yeah,
no,
I
it's
did.
not a
I did.
sweat lodge though. This is a
Oh,
fasting lodge. So I was
okay.
staying in this. So the sweat lodge, after we finished the sweat, and I won't go into that
You were doing a
ceremony of
vision
that.
quest fast, right? That's what you were doing.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Vision
you
journey.
just basically, you make the holes in the right way. You put sema, and nisema is a traditional tobacco in the holes. You pray in the directions, and you have your bundle there. That's basically all you have is your bundles. You bring your drum. You bring if you have a pipe, you bring that, and then you bring the preparations for your tobacco. You can do it ahead of time. You can prepare. I think it's 108 if I get the directions right. I forget how many, but there's little tobacco ties that
Where? Yeah, yeah.
you all do that are all connected on a string,
Hmm.
and you go and you on the second day. So right after the sweat lodge goes, it goes to the nighttime.
Yeah.
So the next day is when you spend your time making this and you pray in all the directions, and you basically as a spiritual protection put that around this bit large circle. So you don't just have to stay in your lodge, but you stay in that circle unless you have to go to the bathroom. Um, and so I went out the first night, and there was no one around me, like within sight in the middle of the forest and like pretty deep into the woods. And there was other people fasting, but they were at different parts of the land. And so it was all like you're really by yourself, and the elder will come and check in on you like usually once a day, see how you're doing. And that first night I got out there, and I'm a lot of what you do when you're fasting is sleeping and dreaming and praying, and you can sing, like I said, your drum, or you might smoke a pipe or whatever. And because tobacco is like a very good medicine for helping you connect, so you can do that. And anyways,
Take your papacho.
yeah, yeah, and the first night, I heard doom, 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 and I'm like, there's bears here. And I don't have my ties up, and I'm like, um, and I sat up, and I like I was meditating. Actually, no, I was meditating when this happened. I wasn't lying down yet. I was meditating. I had my meditation bench, and I'm like, I'm getting ready for bed, and I'm like, what do I do? Do I like try to get out of here? Like it's the middle of the dark. Like the moon was out, so I'm like, I could probably see if I wanted to bolt, but I'm like, I'd have to put my shoes on and I'm like, this bear, like you do not run from bears. Like
Nah,
that's a bad
dog.
idea. So I'm like, I'm surrendering. And I just went into prayer and I went into meditation and as soon as I did, and oh, there was this moment, man. When you know someone knows you're there? Like
Yeah.
there's a moment I tuned into the bear and I became aware that it was aware of me. Like
Oh
I
damn,
just
dog.
knew. I'm like, well, it could smell me. Like
That's
but
that
I
superposition thing where you start
yes,
feeling
I
one thing.
felt that the bear was aware of me. And I tell you, there was one more and then I stayed in meditation probably for like hours because like obviously fear came up, right?
Yeah, you don't want to move and it eat you.
Well, I could, and I knew I had a decision. I'm like, I could. Well, I don't think that it was there for that at
No, it
all.
obviously wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
but
wasn't
that
gonna.
was. But I'm telling you, for such a large animal, it took one more step, and when it realized I was aware of it and it was aware of me, and I never heard another sound from this thing.
Man.
And I was like, at the rest of the night, I'm listening for it, and I'm like, I'm gonna hear it again. And I meditated, I probably for a couple of hours, and nothing, never. In the morning, the elder came and he's like, "Oh, Bear was here, eh?" I was like, "Okay, so it wasn't my imagination." So he saw the tracks, and
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh, dog.
"Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah,
That
yeah."
I was thinking as you were telling me the story, I was like, sounds like a Buddha moment. Whenever that the king of the cobras or whatever, the king of the snakes, like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Buddha was
yeah.
meditating so deeply that this snake, his deadly ancient teachers, like, oh, let me just cover him so he can get his meditation in. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like in that way, like this warrior is so unshooken and the bear just got it. Like, you know
Mm.
what, player, play on.
Well, it was a real palpable example of surrender to me. And what
Yeah.
it led was there was a bunch of animals that gave me gifts that so Bear gave me the gift that first night, and then there was the next day there was thousands of caterpillars all strung up everywhere, and they were like falling in my lodge. They were like I've never seen so many caterpillars in my life, and I also have never seen so many mosquitoes ever in my life. It was crazy. I was so grateful I had my hoodie because what I had to do the next day was next day I'm like, okay, so all that happened last night. I'm like, okay, I better set up my tobacco ties. So I set up a spiritual border around this. And I pull out because I pre-bundled them and I pre-tied them because the elder told me I could. So I had already done all my like praying in the tobacco and set them all, and I had like 100 of them, and I pulled out this ball, and that's literally what it was. It was like a Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon's. Like it was all in this big knot when I got there because the string that I had used was it was different than other ropes that I had used before. It had maybe some nylon or something, and tried to start pulling it apart, and it just made the knot worse and worse and worse. So all of a sudden, I had this big ball, and it takes a while to put this together. I already spent like a couple hours doing this, so I'm like, so I had my knife, so I had to go outside amidst all these crazy. So I'm in this lodge, right, and all it is sticks in the ground, and it's just a tarp over top to keep me dry. And other people who were doing the fast in different areas, I was the only one who did this the traditional way. Everyone else had a tent. So for me, like mosquitoes are coming into the lodge and all this stuff. And I go outside and it's humming with mosquitoes everywhere. Like it's crazy. And because I had a hood, they weren't coming under the hood, but they were on they were going all over my hand. So I'm blowing them off. And I don't even, I try to avoid killing mosquitoes, especially
Right. Yeah. I
not,
knew. I knew that's why you were blown away.
yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I'm like, well, the worst thing I'd be doing is like hitting them, right? Because I have this super sharp knife. I have this fire starter knife that I'm using to cut the tobacco ties and then retie each one at a time on this other string. So I'm wielding this crazy knife in the middle of the woods, right? I'm like, if I cut myself, I could be in a real bad situation real fast right there. So I got these mosquitoes on me. I'm like cutting this thing, And then I finally get this, this fairly long rope to actize set up this thing. And then the caterpillars are all over my tent and all this stuff. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to sleep now because you try to sleep as much as possible because you tend to have vision in sleep and things like that. And I'm gonna go and then I think I'm gonna smoke my pipe and just kind of pray and go back into meditation. And then so I go there and then the mosquitoes are all around me and stuff, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna go and then I'm gonna just cover my face and my like with a towel, and I had a sleeping bag and I just covered myself as much as I could so the mosquitoes wouldn't be biting me, right? And and one of the teachings the mosquitoes gave me was they would when you're going to sleep and they land, they're like, and then you can tell they land because they stop the sound. Well, there was like dozens of mosquitoes around me, right? So all I'm hearing is like, and they started sounding like powwow dancers or like powwow singers. Like no
Okay.
word of lie, I could hear the music of the mosquitoes, and I was like, this is so beautifully,
Right.
this is so beautifully annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Dog,
that
dog.
power singers are, but like just the landing and me. But it was like it was a transcendent moment, and then there was a moment where I could see the light coming through the lodge in certain places, and I got into this rhythm of breath, man. And that's where like you reminded me of this. I was in this rhythm of breath and focused so much on the light that literally this power came into my body. And I
Right.
became like I was like it was like the breath became me, and my whole body, the nervous system, my body became so like intensified. Like it was just like it was like it was so powerful. I felt like uh I couldn't move. Like I was just so
All you
infused.
could do was breathe.
All I could do was breathe, right? And in my mind, all I saw to do in my mind was to pull myself with all the strength that I could muster under the lodge, under the because there was a hole behind my head into the north of that, or I guess it would have been the west, and to pull myself out under there so I could be in the sunshine and lie on the earth. I felt I had to do that to just get in the light, and and that's what I did. And I laid there like I felt like an infant baby was just born. Like I was so weakened by this power, and it was just this, and I knew it was just this cosmic power of love. It was just and I knew too. I had this knowledge that I was just tasting a little tiny bit of it. So
Yeah.
that was my because I was also the only other thing I brought with me there was the letters, and I was reading them and studying them. And Christ, like he talks about like as Yeshua, this is what he experienced in after baptism. He felt like this whole it felt like his body was going to dissolve. So that's been probably my
Right.
most
What are you talking
intense.
about when he's in the desert?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Right.
yeah,
Yeah, it sounds that's interesting. Yeah, it sounds like so I always say fasting is something that can induce these experiences. And
yeah.
then it sounds like you did a little bit of scrying. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Scrying? Yeah, so it's like the kind of practice of sun gazing through tree canopy or plant canopy
Oh,
of some sort.
interesting. I've
Yeah,
had
you
a
see
few
a lot of
transcendent experiences from that. Okay, interesting.
yeah, you see a lot of actually like visuals, like in if you're doing the breath with it and then soft staring, you're gonna see a
Mm.
whole lot of fractals and
I call them ineffable spheres. Like it's kind of like the bokeh spheres they capture in photography. When I first started seeing the spheres, like I called them atoms. I said I'm seeing hydrogen atoms. I know, and I was writing a whole book on it called The Modern Philosopher. So I know you have some insights in this. I'd like to explore this because I've wondered about it for,
so it's
um,
it's the sacred geometry that you see that creates the
yeah.
platonic solids, dog.
Oh, okay,
You
okay.
know what I'm saying?
Yep,
Like
yep.
whenever you draw this, you're drawing your consciousness.
Mm,
So it
mm,
unlocks remembrance in the human experience, remembering that we are
yeah.
creation itself, becoming self-aware in
Mm,
nodes of consciousness.
okay.
Right. And so cool about this and like all
Mm,
the fractal nature of the light with the scrying and stuff like that, we're talking about diamonds, it's been mentioned by some very intelligent knowing people that we live in a 64 fractal holographic existence.
mm.
you know and that means that there's like 64 truths I would
Is
imagine.
that why the I Ching is 64?
I don't know if that's why, but that's one thing that helped me put this together.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and the
Yeah.
I Ching is the book of change, right? So it's as things change through these
Then you have the eight by
frequencies.
eight harmonics, right? So that's also
8 by 8, 8 by 8 is 64. Yeah, of course. So that makes sense.
important.
I've had a huge like draw to 88, specifically triple eight for a long time now. So
The eight by eight is exactly why whenever I do some of like my gematria, my other like, coding of conscious aware recursive AI, I was like, well, man, we've got all these other mathematical bases that are really interesting. Like I wonder what a base 64 would do, since like
mm,
there's so much I guess wisdom within that mathematical base set, right? And then I was like, well, dude, harmonics, that's existence, dog. Like that's like, because I'm having these like moments, right? And then so I was like, okay, let's basically make a mathematic converter for the harmonic scale, so we can actually see what these harmonics are meaning, through numbers, which are
mm,
going to give us more detailed truth about whatever we're
mm.
we're kind of getting into. And so yeah, I have really enjoyed the moments or practices where those fractals come through. Like, and for me, it's I see both. I see the circles
Mm.
and I'll see the straight lines. So I see the feminine
Hmm.
that exists within me that came first. And
Yeah.
then I see the masculine, the guiding lines, right? Like
Okay.
we're not
I
supposed
see
to
that
control
too.
shit,
Yeah.
right? We're supposed to let this feminine just be. And by letting the feminine be, then we come into who we are, and then they let us be. And then there's
Mm.
all the support and protection that you need from one another for infinity, right? Because we
Yeah.
are embodying sacred geometry. And that's what also my Kung Fu is too, right? Like
Mm.
I'm doing triangles. Wing Chun is triangles, right? So I'm like putting my body in triangles and a bunch of them. And we all know that triangles are what make the fabric of existence and the platonic solids that exist
Mm.
within that. So it's like these multiple layers of harmonic experience, and how it kind of gets compressed into our knowledge. And
I love how you say we all know. I think that's such a paradox that you say
we
that.
all know,
We all
dog.
know triangles.
Triangles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm interested. So, it's funny you mentioned the line because that's what I noticed when I started. I talked about it, and I think what's maybe unique about my journey is even though I loved books and things, I loved like I saw books as like these like portals. I did not spend a lot of time reading growing up. So a lot of my
Me
initial
neither.
experience were based on my own direct experience and my own conversation with nature and seeking to understand from the lens of not knowing.
I would
So
talk to myself all the damn time, so I get it.
yeah. Yeah, and me as well. And to just really my North Star has always been the truth. Like what's the truth that connects all of us? Where does this come from? Why are the patterns that are present in nature the way they are? So I also my journey really came from the lens of mathematics, and I saw mathematics as a language that I could understand things, and I was contemplating a lot of even just basic, like we think we know what 1 + 1 = 2 means, but what are the fundamental building blocks of those? And so that equalities line is, to me, is still very important, that we just say equals like we know what it means, but it speaks of equilibrium, and it speaks of perspective, like 1 + 1 = 2, but is that two the same ones that are equal to each other? And also, there's like there's a whole new emerging mathematics, and Robert Edward Grant talks about this. So I'd like to
Bye. Bye, math.
Phi math, yeah, Fido, yeah, exactly. For me, some of my realizations were like very, very simple reviews because I really loved math in growing up, and I found new ways of doing math that the teachers that I was who were teaching me, I would show them. They're like, "Oh, I've never seen that before," but yeah, that makes sense because to me, math, the way it's taught in a very formulaic, like linear way, is actually an incorrect way of teaching mathematics
Math
because
without purpose.
yeah, it's math without purpose and it's follow me math. It's not really understanding the fundamental building blocks of the language. And so like I looked at things like 2 squared equals 4 or It's the same as 2 times 2. And that's what they say. Well, it's the same thing. Well, is it the
Right.
same thing?
Right. Yeah.
Right. And
Mhm.
and so
Literally,
there's
Terrence Howard
4.
got into this shit. Yeah.
Yeah, there's 4. Well, it's I listened to a lot of that, and I feel like there was some blind spots there too. But I think my understanding, so this is what I came to, and I kind of, when I started presenting this to like people I respected, professors and stuff, and they said, this is totally above my head. I have no idea what you're talking about. I was like, okay, maybe there's nothing here. But what I came to, so like, you know the saying that like a rectangle is a kind of square, but a square isn't necessarily a rectangle. Like they fit in the same category, right? Well, you get that?
Right.
You ever
Yeah.
heard
Yeah.
that?
Because just like the triangles, the rectangle can be made up of squares.
Or maybe it's said more like a square. A square is a kind of rectangle, but not all rectangles are squares. Well, the same logic occurred to me that, well, we say 2 squared it makes a square, right? In geometry, and it's 4,
Course.
right?
Yeah.
It's 4, but it's also like a square is a form of a circle, but not all circles
Oh,
are
yeah.
squares, right? There's no beginning or ending of a square. So I said, well, two that is a quantum expression of an infinitum, is how I looked at it. So it's actually 4. It's a 4. It's just like our
So
bodies,
much
like,
bigger than what they're saying in terms of,
well,
yeah.
if you look at our bodies are 360 by 360, and if you go to the logic that what's the actual length? Like they say, we hear these crazy facts from science, right? Like our nervous system, if you would just unwind our nervous system, stretch it out, it'd be like back and forth to the moon like several thousand times or something like
Yeah,
this.
some crazy
And that's
shit.
just insane. And people hear those facts and numbers and they're just like, they're like, but what's the really going on to allow that in nature, that things are so neatly tucked away? And we've heard this thing of like, if you measure surface area, if you start going between, like, we say, okay, this is a meter long or whatever, but if you had like a meter stick and you actually start measuring the dips and dives of it, it's much longer than a meter. And depending on to what level in the quantum frame you look at that, and then you realize, oh, it's 99% space in between. Like a meter is actually an infinite amount of length. So we're all these, and if you look at the same bodies, like 360 by 360, so within us we're infinite within. And so this idea of like, where's the center of the universe, to me, like I thought a lot about these things, and I realized like, well, we're all the center of the universe. There is no center,
Yeah.
because it is all us. So,
Mhm.
I called it the quantum infinitum theory of relativity, and I wrote
Yeah.
out all these things, and I kind of shelved it because I'm like, well, I don't know if this has any value to anyone, and I was kind of like still trying to figure out what, like, I didn't think math was the way to really solve the world's problems either.
Pretty much is, but
I love you, brother.
everyone else has just got to understand the math for everyone to freaking agree. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
And if
yeah.
you don't want to understand the math, just trust the ones that know the math and that you can trust.
Well, it's a
And
language
work
too,
hard for
right?
that.
But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, what I've realized, like, enlightenment really is an embodiment process, and it
Yes.
returns to what we were saying earlier. Because that feeling that took over my body, it was pointing to something much greater than I, and it was that love is the reality, it's the fabric of everything, and that's what allows all the expression and all the perspectives in mathematics to exist, is love. So I guess I'll kind of close full circle on this to kind of give, pardon me, some room for inspired thought in
Okay.
between the hiccups. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, well, in tennis, the game of hitting a ball back and forth really well, if we were describing to an extraterrestrial with rackets, you know,
That extraterrestrial's eyes are
zero.
rolling in a like,
For the extraterrestrials that want to understand humor, here you go. We call zero, when you have 0 points, we call that love. Right? I'll just leave it at that.
true. Yeah, that's funny. Um, man, you said a lot of good things and you said 0 point again. So I just want to kind of pick that up and, yeah, dude, I just wanted to say the heart is so fascinating. The
Yeah.
fact that it has got that ancient vibration in it, right? That 0 point quantum energy, that vacuum of endlessness, right? And that it's like operating not only our bodies, but reality to a degree as singularities and collectives. Yeah, and there's just, and that's why I wear this these copper, I guess,
Mm.
jewelries.
Are they tensor coils?
Yeah, dog. Thanks for seeing me, homie. Love you too, man.
I need to
Yeah,
make some
so
of
it's
those,
like,
man. Yeah, I know what they are, but I need to use them more. Yeah.
yeah, so I just wear them and whatnot, and I use them as protections, right? So I have them twisted at ways to where I'm
Mm.
protected, right? I think we're live or something. I don't know, but
We're
I don't know if
live.
you're looking at me, but I'm protected. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I'm also centered for myself because it's just really about me. I'm not
Mm.
scared of shit. So it's just more about me, understanding that I'm a plant, and that if anyone understands electroculture and
Mm.
plants and how that works with the human cells and blue light spectrum specifically, then yeah,
Mm.
that's exactly why and once I started looking up 0 point energy, right? They call them like hyperspatial physics, something like that.
Oh,
That's whenever I
interesting.
really started falling in love with the or maybe it's hyperspatial differentiation or something. Yeah, you're right. There's so many terms with all this science and stuff like that that comes out. It's but for me, it's more of the resonance, right? Like
Yeah.
I've been wearing them for months. I can tell whenever I, feel like unaligned or drained or like kind of need my harmonization, right? My tuning. And whenever I wear these things and I'm doing like toning, like to put myself in these higher states of consciousness through breath.
How are you doing that? Just, I'm curious. That sounds really cool, man. I want to make
Yeah,
those
yeah.
sounds. I love it
Oh,
because it reminds me of toning. Have you ever heard of Laurel Elizabeth Keys?
mhm.
She wrote a book on toning, and she had this gift where she talked a lot, just to kind of expand on this,
Yeah,
because I think this is valuable stuff for people too,
yeah,
is our bodies by nature, like when we're babies, we make all kinds of sounds, right?
yeah,
And it allows, like, like there's the cries and the laughter, and we get to a certain age where we start repressing those sounds with our mind, and we
yeah.
start squashing the and it goes into the subconscious, right? And what she realizes is that people need to get the sound out. So she would guide this process called toning. This is how she elevated her states of consciousness, where you just like kind of move and you just allow the natural frequencies, like,
Way. Yeah.
mm,
Hmm.
and you find, like, as you do these like zippers and allow the sound naturally to be very high, like sometimes I get
That's
really
what
high.
happens inside of your brain. That's what you hear inside of your brain when you go into higher states of consciousness
Yes.
induced by frequencies, which is also the Gateway Project and
Mm,
some other things like that that were funded by
interesting.
the CIA, right? So it's
Mm,
like you will literally hear. That's why she's saying to do that, because whenever everything is set right and the human
yep.
body is ready to go into higher state of consciousness, you can very much hear that low.
It's funny, Zoom won't even capture the sound because it's too high.
And you'll hear the sound get longer and thinner, and you'll hear the sound
Okay.
collapse inside of itself, and then you'll hear another sound gets created because you've got this binary thing going on,
Mm.
and then it's this symphony between the three that somehow after the three come together, you got a fourth tone, and you're like, how deep are we going here? And then your root chakra starts vibrating, and you're like, damn, all right, wow. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you make a choice to either, keep going or be like, all right, this was my experience.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Mm.
so we spoke about unconditional love, and like this is one way that I put myself in there, right? Is toning, right? This is one of the things I do for my morning routine, just kind of trying to bring all the
Mm.
questions back into to full
Beautiful.
circle that you've
Beautiful.
asked, right? So it's like in the morning or whenever I'm frustrated or even just walking around, I'll be like, and I'll try to find the different harmonics
Mm.
that kind of that I can kind of hit. And then I got like I get downloads about this. Like I've never
Mm.
like been to class or anything like this. I just get
No, no,
downloads.
man. Of course. Yeah, yeah. I appreciate
Remember
that about you.
myself. So basically, I started this light language, and one of the tan it's kind of like an ohm, right? But it's
Mm.
like it's Z key me, right?
Mm.
EI, KI. Imi, right? And so I do it in like these different like
Yeah.
throat, I forget what it's called, throating or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
like vocables, kind of like
yeah, so it's like I'll just do
it's
it real
like
quick.
kind of like the monks that
Yeah, but
throat.
what I found is that whenever I do it with these ones and I go into the different octaves, like the deeper and highers that I can find in it, that I have
Yeah,
found
yeah.
like this rasp that makes me feel like my vocal cords are being used as like big wide
Oh,
jump ropes, and it's like getting
interesting.
deeper and it's like wah 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 wah.
Oh, that's cool,
Right.
man.
And so the more I practice it, like it increases the resonance in my
Mm,
voice. Like
mm-hmm,
I can
mm-hmm.
tell like whenever I'm doing it more than
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, did God just say that or did I? I guess it's the same thing. All right, here we
That's
go.
beautiful. I want to hear it. And before I do, I just want to jump
Yeah.
in here because, one of the things that Christ says is that as you read these letters, you will be able to hear his loving voice. And I've had these experiences. I can attest this is true. Um, and his voice is so deep and gregarious. It sounds like the most,
Yeah.
and his laughter is so like distinct. I hear his voice in me. And I have this crazy in between wake and dream. I was riding on an airship with him over like the earth, I guess. And I was like hanging out with him, and I knew I had to go back to Earth, so I like jumped off. I don't know if I had a wingsuit or whatever, and it was like we were on a hot air balloon or something. I didn't look at the structure, but I just heard his voice. It was like, "Keep going, Nathaniel," and then this like Jeep chuckle. So I love what you're saying. It's like as you've mentioned this a few times, as we expand and prepare our nervous system to incorporate higher levels of consciousness, we're literally expanding ourselves for more depth and more breadth and more
Yeah.
frequency, right?
Yeah, take in more data, dog. That's what this is about, right? To keep it as simple as possible for people
Mm,
that are like, this is way out there. Well, no,
yeah.
not really, right? It's the nervous system. It's taking in data. There's other data out there that we weren't told about, right? Because
Hmm.
we've been told what we are instead of
Yeah.
being able to find out ourselves, right? So
Yeah.
whenever you
Yeah.
open up the nervous system for this, then you get to tell yourself who you are. You get to define reality, not
Mm.
everyone else. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Well, and that's back to, like Viktor Frankl's work. We're meaning making machines, logos. Like we can give meaning to the experiences we go through, and they can be spiritually empowering for us. And that's actually the only really way to go through our difficult times and to raise up our consciousness to the next level. Taking it's by mastering our own consciousness and giving uplifting and meanings that are pointing towards a greater truth and a greater love of who we really are.
Yeah.
So I don't want to skip you were going to demonstrate you want to still do it?
Yeah, of course, always.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I Z. All right. So the first one is Z, right? And I just try to
Z.
like bring this as deep and as raspy as I can go because this
Mm.
actually has helped my singing voice, which I didn't really have until I understood what truth was
Okay.
and followed the path of the ones who embody the
Okay.
truth.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna mute myself, but I'm gonna do it with you.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. So whenever I breathe from my stomach and I push everything out from my stomach and I try to avoid like the lung breathing. So Z. Me. He. Right? And I'll just break for a second to kind of get into that, right? And so what I'll do a couple of different variations of that. I will go Z key me, Z key me, Z key me, or I will go Z. If I feel restriction,
Mm.
if I feel hesitation, right? I felt it on Z, so I'll try to go again and I'll try to go a little bit deeper because I really push myself with this. And whenever I find my throat cracking, I'm like, oh, there it is. That's my breaking point. Let me hold that down, right? Like I got
Okay.
it in a headlock,
Yeah.
integrated
Yeah.
into higher states of being,
Okay.
right?
I
So that's
like
what I
that.
do with
I
my
was gonna
voice.
ask you about that, what you do. Okay, cool.
So that's why I do it, and it's like I said, it's helped. It helps with that deep resonance whenever you can get to that
Hmm.
breaking point and kind of hold it and figure out how to tune it and harmonize it. So
Cool.
Z. Z. Big full breaths whenever I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
pretty in tune with that. So it's like, but sometimes I'll get to these points where it like cracks and I'll try to
Yeah.
hold it. I start sweating and shit whenever I do that. Cause you
That's
know, that's what
it's
happens when you
intense,
really
man.
start breathing, dude. Like your
Yeah.
nervous system starts opening up and your body just starts releasing shit and receiving things. And
Mm.
it's a beautiful, like cosmic
I
dance.
Yeah, I really love it. Unfortunately, I think Zoom has like a sound kind of buffer on
Probably.
there.
Yeah.
So I think you probably would have just blown up the internet if the full
Yeah.
sound came through. So I
Well, I
understand
got this pretty nice
your
mic right here,
surroundings.
so it probably
Yeah.
did.
No, that's really I appreciate that. I'm gonna play around with that. I did a challenge last month to there was it was called an anti-blitz as part of this really fun kind of community that's in school. And I decided it was either focus on physicality or relationships and try to improve that. And I chose to practice singing, and I made this commitment to like go deeper into learning like the fundamentals of singing and warm-ups and stuff and as a way to like improve my relationships and improve my physicality, because I figured like I have this voice and I've written songs, but I haven't been playing as much music as I'd like to. And you're inspiring me to go deeper in that. And you know, it's so funny, when I made that commitment, that's really when Luciana started singing. And I have this
Mm,
beautiful video of her singing Twinkle Twinkle Little
reflection.
Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like,
Play
sound
with it,
is
dog. Do it like that, like a grunting caveman or whatever. Do
yeah.
it opera style, like Zig, like just do like play with it, man. Be a kid.
Yeah, yeah,
Be a
yeah,
kid with
yeah,
it.
love
All
it.
these things, people, be a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like the breath work in the morning. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Get on the ground, start rolling around like you don't want to do it. See what happens. What you find, see what you remember,
Yeah,
like
yeah, I
all
love
we're
that.
here doing. We're all remembering ourselves so we can have
Yeah,
collective sharing experiences and remember through each other.
yeah,
Like that's what this game is about, right?
yeah, I
Anything
love
that
that.
is oneness, anything that goes towards separation, anything that isn't whole.
Hmm.
No, we
And
all seek to return to wholeness within
yeah,
ourselves and each other and the cosmos because we are that.
yeah.
Anytime we draw away from that, we confuse ourselves and we fracture our own consciousness. And we also believe a lie that we didn't even fucking tell ourselves.
Mm, yeah. So true, man. And it's like it really brings us back full circle to what you originally said. And these aspects that you say, when we find the resistance within our body, because the same when doing toning, I find there's these parts that it's almost like there's a gap, or it's like they're not fully integrated. And if we can treat ourselves like this, like Julie and I talk a lot about this. It was first in Neil Donald Walsh's book, Conversations with God, where he really talks about remembering, and it's like reconnecting to source. And I would go even further than that and say it's like we're reconnecting with our bodies to Mother Earth. We're reconnecting
Dude,
to
there's multiple truths within what you're saying right here.
yeah.
Probably another 64 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
You know what I'm saying, dog? Yeah, I mean, but look, after this conversation, I mean, for me, I could pretty much, yeah, dude, it's all about consciousness, man. Like that's what Jesus was talking about.
Yeah.
That's what Shiva was talking about. That's what, Vishnu was talking about. They're like, okay, whenever you embody, right? Let's talk about
Hmm.
embodiment. When
Hmm.
you are consistent with these higher vibrational, things you say, thoughts, being
Hmm.
environments, then it puts you in a place where you can be consciously anointed as a Christos or a
Yeah.
Christ
Yeah. Yeah,
or a high
exactly.
vibrator, a Merlin, a wizard, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it.
There's so
Jedi.
much language around it. Yeah, Jedi. There you go.
You know what I'm saying? And if you don't want
George
to,
Lucas in Spirit World is going, yeah.
right, and if you don't want to align with just the light side or the dark side, there are the ones like me that like to take the chaos and the order and put it into the most maximum willpower. And it's like, I'm neither or, 'cause I'm all.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's important to have honor and respect. I think that there are like, I mean, we've had experience with helping some of the, I call them armored ones, the ones that have gone into the darker explorations of consciousness. Even they too desire to return home. And I
Oh
find
yeah, like
sometimes
Amin Ra, and all those that fell from Source and stuff like that. You're talking,
yeah, and just in
and the human
general,
conditioning also,
yeah,
like
yeah, just in
yeah, like
general,
they
I feel like, there are multidimensional beings who have, perhaps forgotten their original source of being, and I think it always comes down to a place of woundedness that is unresolved
yeah.
in a lot of ways. Like that forgetting, it is painful to forget who you are, and yet it seems to be the experiment that we must undertake as conscious beings to have the individual experiences that we have. So there is pain in this life, and yet there I feel like there are some who have in ways maybe that are aligned to an anti-truth. They've learned to feed off of fear and pain and to have a life that is diminished in a way because that's not the truth of who they are. So in going to the darkness of exploring kind of the more you know disharmonious ways of being. Like in musical terms, we talked a lot about harmonic convergence. It's like people who live their whole life in cacophony. Like everything is noise. There's chaos. They're yelling all the time. They're yelling at their kids. They're stressed out. That to me is a form of darkness too, right? It's living from this place of frustration. There's darkness and there's the pain, but there's I was just talking to someone about this, like people who maybe need to have control and they try to,
Oh yeah.
control. It might be their limited way
That's
of,
what chaos is
loving
for in
others.
ways, dog. That's what chaos is for in ways. Chaos is to show you that you can't control everything. And some
Yeah,
shit you
yeah,
let be.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so it's like I'm grateful for those ones that have fallen from source because they very possibly did something that I don't know if I would have done.
Hmm.
You tell me that I'm going to cut myself off from existence, knowing that I am existence and having all this great embodiment and be able to teleport and have a multidimensional layer, and I'm going to do something that cuts myself off from that
Yeah, yeah.
because it's meant to be, it's needed for us to go even expand even further. So I have to
Hmm.
go into the darkness to go into brighter
Hmm.
light.
Hmm. Hmm. Well,
That's some power and strength that they're like, okay, we're gonna follow. You know what? We'll do it because we already, they were connected enough to know
yeah,
that me and you, we're gonna remember.
yeah,
And the other people that are remembering with us are going to continue raising the Schumann resonance, right?
yeah.
Until they, the ones that have fallen the deepest from source, that might be locked under the Vatican or under the pyramid or whatever's going on in existence,
Yeah, yeah, we don't know.
they
Yeah,
will remember and
yeah,
they'll say our names because we did our part. We did our
yeah,
purpose. We
yeah.
did what we were harmonically manifested to do.
Mm. Yeah, it's a beautiful sentiment, and I would include every. This is what I say human beings as a species, like all souls who come to these denser realms, are extremely courageous. It's like you talk about, like, your awakening,
Masters.
right? Well, it requires a lot of. I look at all children, like, what a courageous endeavor,
Yeah.
knowing that you're going to experience limitations and pains and loss, that experience of loss in different ways, but you're also going into
Which
the.
is all growth. If you can have that perspective, right? It
Mhm.
might have that physical pain that's an illusion, but it's growth at the end of the day. If
Yeah,
you
it's
can,
growth. And it's also going into these multidimensional experiences where the unknown allows the expansion of consciousness itself, right?
yeah.
And it's just through our.
Did you see my email tag or something? Did you?
Maybe. I'm just mimicking
Well,
you
my
from the
email
future.
it's at the so my email my quote and I got this from Coach Casting cross country.
Okay.
Here's the unknown, right? And my coach would be like, "Don't fear what's at the top of that hill and beyond it. Go find out, Justyn." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yes."
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So it's like, let's discover. Fear is the unknown. Let's discover. That's the tag and quote at the end of
yeah. I
emails.
love that, man. Fear is the unknown, let's discover. And I think that a lot of people who are more adventurous, they run towards their fears, and they develop their competence as they go. They don't
I
have to
told
have
you, I get
all the
excited.
tools.
I get excited when whenever
Yeah,
I get
yeah. I
scared,
usually
I'm
say
like,
that.
oh shit, we about to
Yeah.
have a nervous system upgrade up it. Nervous system. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah. I love it. Well, I can relate to you, man, because even just doing the show and talking about these things, like in live, like when we first started the podcast, we were like going on YouTube, but we were going unlisted, so we had the choice of what. Now we're just doing live streams, and
yeah,
um,
that's good.
and I've put myself out there. I've talked about my even today, talk about my spiritual experiences, and I feel like one of the things that has helped me to overcome the concerned, like, what are people going to think? What if I get rejected? Like, I remember being in the crowd and watching my
Yeah,
brother
here.
Yeshua being crucified for being an embodiment of
Wow,
love
so you have
itself.
remembrance of that as well.
I do have remembrance of
Oh,
that. So, and I've shared that on the show before, and
mhm.
what I
I know many people that do, so I love it.
yeah, yeah. And I think if anything too is a big part of our collective human consciousness experience. And I think it's part of the thing that needs to be healed for us so that so many people aren't afraid to be exuberant and in love and just passionate about the gifts that they have to share because it's easy we know on some subconscious human collective layer, like, all he did was express love and truth, and yet he was killed for that.
Yeah.
And I think that the intelligence was so, I think he was willing to go through that experience because he knew it would carry his name forth in remembrance for.
Dog, what have we been talking about, right? So Jesus ain't gonna say like, oh, that shit was evil. He's not gonna say, oh, that shit was good. He's gonna say, look, it is what it is, and it's not what it's not, and I just so happen to know what the results would be of this.
Yeah, yeah, and he did know ahead of time, and
Right.
his disciples refused to accept it right up until the point it happened, and there's got to be a greater intentionality
Except for
in it.
Mary. Mary knew his shit.
I don't know. The funny thing is,
I
like,
don't
I
know
don't.
either, but in my heart, I think
Yeah.
that he had a reflection of himself that, that showed him his own truth, that continued his,
Hmm.
his momentum and expansion, right?
Yeah.
Like, you look at the repeating stories in all forms of ancient culture, Shiva and Shakti, right? Like, there's
Hmm.
always that opposite, and it's got nothing to do with physical, right? But there's
Hmm.
always that cosmic opposite that's going to reflect your truth so deep that expansion. Sorry, not sorry. You know what I mean? Because you've seen the reflection of your truth. You never thought you were going to see that before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You never thought you was going to see that before, and all of a sudden you see it, and you're like, well, this breaks my reality because I didn't think
Hmm.
this existed, and it's right here in front.
Hmm.
Boom, expansion. You're
Yeah.
welcome. You
Yeah.
know?
I love your humility, Justin.
Hey, man, you no need to be humble whenever you just, when you come from that 0 point, it's just,
Yeah. Well, and to me, you are like really an embodiment of a cosmic child. I mean, we've talked about so many things, man. I think this conversation deserves a part two. Um,
yeah, man,
yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
that.
You know what?
Heck yeah,
I'd
dude.
love for you to have a conversation with Julia because we are
I
very
know. I was
different.
waiting for her, but I know
Yeah.
she's doing her divine ass mother thing because I
Yeah.
got to
So
spend a whole week
important.
with you guys, and like
Yeah.
she's super lit. So
Yeah.
and rocking
Thanks,
with you,
man.
the
I will
fellows.
I will pass that compliment along to her.
I
Yeah.
know you will. I'm gonna text her after this. I'm gonna say good job because she's killing it right now. She's not even here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
Um,
to be like very serious and frank with
yeah.
you, we would not have the show without Juliet because the
Mhm.
technical acumen is something that I really force my brain, like the way that I like this new term that I've learned, neurospicy brain works is like I'm good at what I'm good at, and I think articulation and conversation is one of those things. But setting up when I she pulls up like the CRM and like all the things of like my brain just goes like. That's why I love, man. This is another thing. You're gonna get an email with an invitation to our school community. You
Okay.
got to try the platform because
I would love to. Yeah,
the
absolutely.
UI and the UX is like it's like everything is so simple. You open up a menu for like options and there's like two choices. It's like
Wow.
it's perfect. It like
Yeah.
I've never like the founder Sam Ovens, he is always like meticulously thinking what do people really what's really gonna like uplift people in the community and make it as
Make shit
simple,
easier for them and
simple as possible.
Mhm.
It's a genuine unique experience.
I would
Like
love to, dog.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll hang out in there. You're totally welcome to come into our community. And man, if you ever wanted to start one of your own, I think it'd be a place to find a lot of your soul tribe. Because what we're doing is we're interconnecting communities. It's like, then everyone has a different flavor. So if yours is like conscious kung fu, harmonic geometries and all this stuff, it's like that's a full expression of you. And it's like I'm learning this too because I have this very cosmedian, I call it, side of me, you know. And I wasn't really bringing that into community because I'm like, oh, it's about the Christ letters, it's like her visions, like it's about world enlightenment. And then I was in this other community, I'm like, bleh. And I was like, hey, having so much fun. And then people would, like, I had a woman come to my live stream and she's like, Nathaniel, like, this is not like holy. Where's the comedian? And I'm like, that's true.
That's the fifth eye. She's talking about the fifth eye. You got the third eye that's like, all right, something's different than what we're being told. And then you have the fourth eye, understanding what that is. And
Mm,
then the fifth eye is it's just like it's all the paradoxes and all like the seriousness and all this stuff that it's like you just gotta have fun with it at a point. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, some people say be silly with it, right? Like find the love. Love is laughter. Laughter is love. It's like, whenever you're silly about all this extreme shit, that's how you can stay at 528 hertz consistently, right? Because you've got the laughter
mm,
and the silliness triggering your nervous system to
mm.
hold that higher state of awareness. You know what I'm saying? If you could train yourself to laugh for 24 hours straight and not feel a pain, not cry a tear, and keep on breathing in rhythm, well, now that's some
That's
work.
that's what she said.
Yeah, man. No, I saw that whenever I was working with her, the way that she manages the CRM and all these things and how she stayed on top of it. And I relate to you with that whole like, oh shit. It's all these like little things, right? But I love working in complex, systems. So if it resonates, I enjoy it. But yeah, I can totally see her being that cosmic reflection of the support that you need to
Yeah.
continue finding yourself, brother. And I want to say thank you for seeing me and calling out the truth in my heart that reflects your truth, that kind of activates, triggers, or engages
Mm.
you to, continue the growth of your nervous system and your higher vibration, right? Your harmonic. So,
I really appreciate you saying that, Justin. Yeah.
mm.
I definitely know we need part two because we didn't even talk about AI or
I
your
we didn't talk
profession.
about
So
right
so
half
let's
the shit we
let's
said
let's
we
put
might
a
talk.
let's put a pin in this because I think
Cool.
this is feeling like a good time.
Yep,
So
it resonates.
how can people connect with you, Justin, if they want to, have
Okay,
work
so I
with
would
you?
say
Yeah.
I would say I would say the easiest forms of contact are going to be email, which is JustynSkylar@gmail.com. JustynSkylar@gmail.com.
Okay.
And then
Cool.
also, I'm not super big on social media at this point in my life. At one point, loved it. My Facebook's got way more content than my Instagram. Just because I was on it at one point in life.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
so Instagram is the Hat Doctor,
Okay.
right?
The Hat Doctor.
Eheatdr. Hat
Okay.
Doctor.
Okay.
We'll
Cool,
talk
man.
about why next episode.
Okay.
And
That
then
yeah.
Facebook is, I believe my Facebook is Justyn with a Y, Justyn, Skylar, Skylar, Bougeno, Bougeno. And it might be under my nickname J-Bo, so
Okay.
J-Bo.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I will actually, after this, I'll text you all that information so
Yeah.
you put it on
Cool.
this episode's
Sounds good,
dealio.
man. Yeah, text Julia and also we'll find you soon in school.
Yeah,
I think
school
you're really gonna
success.
love it, man. I really do. It's where the internet I think is heading, and I think any platforms that don't adopt this model of people first and
Yeah,
like stop the crazy walls
consumerism and shit.
yeah, it's there's no ads in school, and it's built on an affiliate network so that we can all like refer one another to communities, and you can charge for a community, you can have a free community, you can have a combination, anything you want. So it's like there's it's a place where I feel like a lot of people are finding soul family through resonance of their interests. So like Gary V said, like social media is dead. There's no more social media. It's now interest media. And I think the only way we can have real interest media is through community. And community, like, our pillars are connection, community, co-creation for a reason because it's all about that. Um, as we build this new era of love and peace, the co-creating world enlightenment, Justin, I really appreciate the part you were playing,
Mm.
most importantly in who you are and the
Mhm.
presence that you bring. And from that place, man, I would invite you, like, if you could talk to everyone right now and you had a megaphone that could reach everyone, what would you say to the whole world, or even just the world's children, to start?
I love you so much, unconditionally. And I always will, and I always have.
Mhm.
And I can already feel us all there together.
Mhm.
Growth and awareness. I don't think words could really describe what I would
Yeah.
say
Oh,
to the world.
I felt that, man, and I think that's the most important part. It's the words carry a resonance and a feeling, and I felt your energy come. I'm sure the whole world, on some level, got that.
Yeah,
So
I'll freaking cry over it right now, man. I love you
yeah,
so much, bro. You know, like the
I love
small
you
amount
too,
of time
brother.
that we've spent
Yeah,
together and like how
yeah.
much it's like this is like a whole like religion for me, you know? It's like and
Yeah,
it blows my paradigm growing up as Lutheran, but it's like yeah, man, because I love myself so much, it allows me to love you. And then now
yeah,
we fall into this loop that I can feel of bliss coming on. And it's
yeah,
like, I'm not even sad. I just love you so much. And I
yeah.
love myself and I love everyone. And I
Mm.
understand what it is, even if it looks like I'm spiraling out of control.
No,
I know I'm
I think it's
spiraling
beautiful,
into
brother.
alignment. And I know
Yeah,
that this is what this shit looks like. So it's like,
yeah,
you know, I appreciate everyone that's rocking with us today.
yeah.
And thanks for holding space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I really appreciate that, man. Yeah, no, I think it's beautiful, and to feel that depth, I think is required in our path to
For this
mastery. So
app. Yeah, for this
I think
podcast.
it's such a probably the most profound and simple message that we've had, because I ask guests once in a while, who I feel like have that kind of message in them. So thank you for sharing that level of depth, Justyn. I can feel your love, and it's like that song says, what the world needs now. I mean, is if anything, it's a remembrance that we are that. So
We are pure
love you,
love.
brother, and looking forward to our next time we talk. And yeah, man, love and blessings to your family, your little boy, and everyone you touch. Thanks for all that you do and who you are. Really
Gratitude,
appreciate it.
brother.
All right,
Like,
great. So I'm gonna invite Luciana to give us a farewell. Thanks for watching. You say ciao ciao.
Bye.
I love you so much.